Well, given the current situation, we believe that it's necessary to be absolutely firm with Russia. Russia has to understand that taking over other people's territory, whether in the eastern Ukraine or in the Crimea, is unacceptable. And therefore, while the present conflict exists, it is very important indeed that the European Union should maintain sanctions and indeed, if necessary, ratchet them up. That is our conclusion about the present situation. Well, the committee goes way beyond the present situation, and we have looked very carefully at the genesis of this conflict, and we have come to the conclusion that there were mistakes on both sides. We feel that on the European side, and Europe, of course, includes the UK, that on the European side there was a certain lack of sensitivity about the implications, as far as the Russians would see them, of the trade talks that we were entering into. There was a lack of definition. We feel that the analytical capacity of the British Foreign Office, but also of some of the other foreign offices, is much less than it was, and we didn't entirely understand how the Russians would react. At the same time, I think the Russians misjudged the Europeans, and they also misjudged how the Ukrainians would behave. They probably didn't take seriously the fact that Ukraine really might sign a trade agreement. And then finally, under this heading, we want to make it quite clear that while Russia has no right to dictate to the countries on its near its borders on how they should conduct their affairs, those countries, and indeed the countries of Western Europe, also need to take account of Russian interests. Well, having made it quite clear that we must stand firm against Russia while the present fighting and the present situation continues, we are looking beyond that, and we want to make it clear that the dispute is not between the EU and the Russian people. It is between the EU and the policies of President Putin. And therefore, we want to keep open other avenues of communication. We are, for instance, supportive of maintaining cultural links. We believe that where issues in our shared history, such as commemorating the end of the Second World War this year, where those sorts of things are concerned, then Russia should be included along with the other countries that were affected by the war. So we don't want to close off the other links with Russia. We also think that, again, once this dispute is settled, and looking beyond this dispute, that a greater effort should be made to see whether there can be cooperation between the European Union on the one hand and the Eurasian Union on the other. And then, of course, very important, we believe that very substantial aid should be given to Ukraine, but that aid should come with a lot of strings. Ukraine has a very bad record for corruption and for misallocation of resources, and therefore if the aid is to be of any benefit, it must come with strings, and the way in which it's spent must be carefully monitored. But Ukraine needs help.